the required p-values and so forth. Those organizations, I don't know what the WHO does, but I know for sure what NIH does. And NIH is allowed to have expert opinion. So they're allowed to say, well, our expert opinion, even though we only had 2 fluvoxamine trials, now that we have this extra data, which has been shared with us, they could easily have issued an expert opinion that, oh, people should use fluvoxamine. And in fact, I would argue that any doctor, any scientist that is familiar with the precautionary principle, which says that, hey, if you got fluvoxamine and it's in 2 trials, and they were pretty well randomized. In fact, one was quasi-randomized, which is actually better than randomized because the sicker patients got the drug. If you got 2 trials like that, then, and fluvoxamine has been around for 40 years without any fatalities, then why not give it? In the meantime, while you're waiting for that phase 3 trial, the safest thing to do to save the most lives is to give the drug, because there's no, like, why would you not? It's like, hey, if you were drowning and I had a life preserver and it wasn't certified by the U.S. Coast Guard, for use in high water, do you think I should wait or like maybe take a year to test it before I throw it to you? Or do you think I should just throw you the life preserver even though it wasn't tested in high seas?
Yeah. So
that's essentially what the choice is. And the NIH, of course, chooses to say, no, we don't want to take any chances here. After all, nothing could happen. Right?
But I have a comment here. So strengthening your point, there are drugs like bamlanivimab, which were total 470-ish people in the trial. 300 people were actually various dosages of the bamlanivimab. It was a phase 2 trial, and the result was, hey, we are approving it. So how come a drug with lesser number of people, with a smaller comparative group, more of a drug dose exploration, ends up being approved, and things like ivermectin or fluvoxamine are still sitting on a side saying, hey, we look at the magic we can do, and still not getting their voice? What is this?
Well, look, it's called regulatory capture is the term, which essentially means that the regulators are captured by the drug companies. Like, why does Merck issue a statement saying that ivermectin is dangerous, and several months later you get a peer-reviewed meta-analysis and systematic review that says that ivermectin works, that the evidence is low to moderate, but that it's clear that ivermectin works, and it's a peer-reviewed systematic review, which is the top of the evidence-based medicine pyramid. It doesn't get any higher than that. That's like, going to Harvard and getting your MBA from Harvard Business School. It's like you don't get any better than that, and everybody in the world is supposed to respect that in terms of evidence-based medicine. So what happens? As soon as that study is released, you would expect the entire world to say, hallelujah, hallelujah. We now, even though we had these trials that people weren't convinced, because we have a systematic review, and systematic reviews are never overturned or never contradicted or whatever, at least in history up until now, that now we have a contradictory one that says, oh, you shouldn't use ivermectin, which selected studies and then they got published. That's we can talk about that next, but you would have expected that when you have a systematic review published, peer-reviewed, published, that the whole world, that the WHO would issue press release saying, hey, ivermectin works, use it. You would think that the NIH would be blasting out, hey, we're going to change the guidelines, ivermectin works. You would have expected that Gavi, which was advertising that ivermectin doesn't work, you would have expected them to stop advertising. You would have expected YouTube to have changed their policy such that, oh, anybody who says ivermectin doesn't work, they should be banned. And anyone who says ivermectin did work, we should reinstate their videos, we should remonetize their channel, and we should give them back pay for all of the revenue that they would have generated had we not made the mistake. That's what you would have expected to happen.
Yeah, and for the Cool Beans context here, you're seeing a big smile on my face. The reason for that is 54 of my videos were taken down in one day when they talked about ivermectin. And Steve, full disclosure, again, I have no financial or commercial interest with Steve's work or his organization. However, Steve has volunteered sometimes to help me figure out the censorship issues. Although these videos are still the same, they're still taken down. And and we'll go to censorship in a second. I still want to.
I tried.
Yes, but at least Steve had helped, and it was like a magic that not on the unfortunately Steve thought that he could help us. That didn't happen, but it was a magic that one day 54 videos were just brought down. One day.
Oh, well, think about this. Robert Malone is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And he's posting material, scientific material, like papers on LinkedIn. His LinkedIn account is canceled. They don't even have the courtesy to notify him in advance. They don't even have the courtesy to notify him after the fact. He finds out that his 10 years of LinkedIn contacts and 10 years of LinkedIn posts are completely gone. It's as if he's wiped off planet Earth. And it was done like that, just like, Thanos in the Avengers, right? In this case, it wasn't Thanos, it was LinkedIn. And he just got completely disintegrated. Now, this is a guy who I think deserves the Nobel Prize for his invention of the mRNA vaccine. And by the way, a lot of people say, oh, he didn't invent the mRNA. To check the New York Times. Well, the New York Times was wrong.